Podcaster Joe Rogan just slammed the UK government for the implementation. God damn it. I really fucked up right off the start. Let's run that again. You guys are watching this live. I'm going to make a nice cut, and it's going to be my nice intro starting now. Podcast host Joe Rogan is sounding off against the UK government over the implementation of their new digital ID program. Wasn't that nice and tasty off the start of the stream to actually nail the introduction? We have a couple clips of Rogan here, guys, talking about this. So this is going to be an interesting stream, actually. What we're going to do here, we're going to look at Rogan's comments. We're also going to react to the digital IDs in the UK and sort of break down what this really means for civilians, what this means for everyday people who are going to be living there under the rule of this. We also have many other topics on this stream, including, of course, the new news of Simmons being hospitalized. We're going to take a look at the top podcast list of all the people who made the cut for 2025. I have definitely some choice words for some of the shows that made the cut there. And also, we're going to take a look at the new bill in Canada, which is Bill C8, which is furthering the censorship of Canadian citizens more and more each and every day. So to start off, let's take a look at Rogan. So Rogan yet again in the news for speaking on this. I'm not sure exactly what he said about the digital IDs, but I do think it's safe to assume that he's not in favor of them. Let's take a listen to this clip right now and find out.
Top podcaster Joe Rogan has blasted the UK government for their plans to roll out compulsory digital IDs.
They're passing that in the UK right now. In the UK, you need a digital ID to combat, ready for it, illegal immigration. Well, motherfucker, you let the illegal immigrants in on purpose. Like, you guys knew what you were doing, and now you're using it as a justification for digital ID.
I just watched one this morning, actually, it was a British judge. A guy got sentenced.
I saw that, yeah.
For however many years for a
20 months, social media post.
For a social media post. It was about immigration.
It's complaining about immigration.
It's wild.
Yeah, it's wild. It's crazy. And, it's the best way to control people, and keep them at each other's throats. Like, bring in a bunch of people that the people that live there don't want there and let them duke it out, and then start instituting tighter and tighter restrictions and control.
The spray came.
So Joe Rogan very clear about his thoughts right off the bat. This was his first comment about the digital IDs, which I'm seeing in the chat. What country was it? This is happening in the UK. So basically in the United Kingdom, all citizens are going to be required to involuntarily have a digital ID, which I guess is made to track them. And the government's claim is that it's due to the rise in illegal immigration. Now, we're going to play some more comments from Joe here in a second, but this kind of reeks to me of almost a false flag type of scenario. And I hate to always sort of veer into conspiracy land, even in the first couple minutes of the stream. Like, I try to go at least 15, 20 minutes without becoming a conspiracy theorist when I go live. But the way of the world nowadays is making it very challenging to do so, and I'll tell you why. Every time there's a big situation, or not every time, but most times, there's a big change that happens in government, there has to be a catalyst in terms of an event that actually happens. Something that happens in the world or in the society of that country which sets them up for the change. Now, this seems to me, the immigration scenario, like an awfully convenient catalyst, because like Rogan pointed out in his comment, they are the ones who let in all these immigrants. They are the ones who opened up the gates and let in many legal immigrants, but also illegal immigrants, which is the perfect excuse to turn around and say, yeah, we need to track you guys now. Because of this issue, we have to give you a digital ID, not, considering the fact that these governments have been looking into using digital IDs for quite some time now. So, that's my first initial thought. It is awfully convenient that the immigrants come in due to the government letting them in, and now the government wants to cut back on immigration, but also have everybody with their digital IDs, which is super, super scary. Let's listen to some more comments from Rogan. Then we're going to break down what the IDs are actually going to mean for people, what they're going to look like, and look at some of the other public reaction as well. I do have more thoughts on this.
ultimately, what you're seeing in other countries is moving to digital IDs. This is just implemented in Europe and in the UK.
Yep.
You're seeing it in a lot of places where you're going to have to need that to work and vote and travel. And, it'll be even more of a constriction on your ability to express yourself, particularly when you think about the UK, which has had more than 12,000 arrests for very mild social media posts.
Isn't that crazy? I mean,
Criticizing-
I can't believe it. I've been watching this stuff play out.
Just real quick for context, for anybody who doesn't know, the UK has had thousands and thousands of arrests of people who are speaking out against immigration as well. So now we're in a situation in the UK where not only can you not live a normal life due to the immigration crisis, you're going to have a digital ID, but also you're not even allowed to criticize the immigration crisis. You're not allowed to speak on it. Otherwise, you may be risking arrest. Again, there's a lot of media to pull in this stream. I'm going to pull a couple videos of people actually being read their rights and brought to jail in the United Kingdom simply for voicing their opinion, which is labeled as hate speech. But that's a little bit of context about what's been going on in the UK. So this goes beyond just the digital IDs. They're looking at really losing their freedom in the country entirely.
12,000 arrests for very mild social media posts.
Isn't that crazy? I mean,
Criticizing-
I can't believe it. I've been watching this stuff play out.
You're seeing a complete, total attack on one of the most fundamental principles of the Western world, which is your ability to express yourself. And your ability to call out that you think that the policies that are being implemented in your country are destructive. That's people have always been able to do that. These people are not calling for violence. They're being arrested for wild things. People are being arrested for liking posts. They're being some people were investigated for viewing posts. 12,000 people arrested by the police in the UK, the same place that just implemented digital ID. I mean, this is an Orwell nightmare coming to life right in front of our face, and no one's flinching. If you look at what's going on, like in the UK, what they're learning over there is that they are in a tyrannical government, and it's slowly but surely it's got its back, it's got the hooks in, and it's putting the rear naked choke in. It's got them locked up. And they've got to do something about that.
Why do you think that's happening?
Why? Because of what we talked about, power and control and resources. And a very limited amount of people are controlling a huge amount of people. This is all the same thing that happens with kings and with emperors. It's control. You got to limit the people's ability to rebel, limit their ability to gather resources, keep them at each other's throats ideologically, keep them fighting over the dumbest shit possible. Meanwhile, closer and closer and closer to total control of the population, where they're even openly stating it. Hillary Clinton said in an interview, if we can't control social media, we lose control. You're not supposed to have control over other human beings. You're going to lose the thing you're not supposed to have. An elected official is supposed to be a representative for the people. You're supposed to be a person who's a public servant.
There you go. The first comments, guys, from Joe Rogan speaking on the UK digital ID crisis. You know, I know I've been quite critical of Rogan on recent streams, but I will say that I think he is dead on when it comes to this situation. This is a government that's inching closer and closer to complete totalitarianism. And I'll tell you guys this not only based on what I see from an outside perspective, but I can also give you guys an inside perspective because I don't live there anymore. I chose to flee because of exactly this reason, because of where the country's going, because it's going to shit. But I was born in Canada. I'm a Canadian. So I've watched not only freedom of speech completely erode in my home country, but I've also watched the way that immigration has become a major issue and impacted a lot of different factors when it comes to government and policing our own citizens. You know, this is a prime example of that. When immigration comes in on a mass level to a country, it not only changes the fabric of society, but it also changes the way that the citizens themselves are handled. And we're seeing that on a massive level now with censorship in the UK, mass arrests for even speaking on immigration or viewing a post. I didn't know that they actually arrested people for viewing posts. I mean, that's fucking insane. Can you imagine if, we talk about authoritarian countries. People mention China and Russia and places like that. Last time I checked, China and Russia are not prosecuting people as much for viewing things. Now, there are big restrictions on what you can view. But people use a VPN. I know people who live in China. They use a VPN to use ChatGPT, or they use a VPN to, do different things, and they're not going to prison. So this level of control and authoritarianism, this is what we're told to fear in other countries, but it's actually coming here. And I will tell you guys this, as a Canadian citizen, again, who was watched the erosion of freedom of speech right before his eyes, and who was watched the takeover of immigration, it is absolutely stunning to see what happens here. And I'm going to tell you guys this, I'm not anti-immigration, just for the record. I'm not anti-immigration. I fully support legal immigration to a reasonable level. But what we're seeing now with all these countries who have basically, I call them sanctuary countries. We've been seeing places that in America call themselves a sanctuary city, or maybe even go as far as saying a sanctuary state. I think California could be considered a sanctuary state. What's happening in countries like Canada and the UK is they're becoming sanctuary countries. So I'm all for having sanctuary cities or places within cities that are sanctuaries, because in my belief, there are people who are actual legitimate refugees, right? A lot of these countries that people are coming in from, they're not exactly all rosy. It's not exactly all amazing things happening there. A lot of people coming from Ukraine, a lot of people coming from different places where there's different reasons to flee. I can understand that. So I do believe there should be legal ports of entry for people who are genuine immigrants, people who want to work hard, and people who want to assimilate. Those three are my criteria. If you're going through the Cassius Morris immigration checkpoint, those are my three questions. That's my program for the immigration. I'm going to take a look and say, okay, one, are you legitimately a refugee, or are you coming here for benefits? That's the first thing I'd say to an immigrant. Number two, how hard do you plan on working, and do you have a job lined up? That's my second question. But above all, number three, do you plan on assimilating with the country in which you are entering? Do you plan on following the rules and the liberties and the freedoms of that country? Because here's what happens, folks, when you have large groups of people who oppose the way that your country operates coming in. You start having things like this. When you're dealing with countries where freedom of speech is a little rocky. You look at a lot of the Middle Eastern countries, you look at a lot of these countries, a lot of great things happening in those countries. Freedom of speech, not exactly one of them in many of these places. Now, there's many free places all around the world, all different cultures. But you look at some of these cultures, it is very limited what you can say. Now, when we're having millions and millions of people coming from these cultures into another country, which has different beliefs, different systems, different outlooks, those systems and outlooks will inevitably start to change as the country starts to change, right? This is common sense. This is what happens when you have mass immigration. Legal or illegal, by the way. This is the thing. You look at Canada, where I'm coming from, there is zero illegal immigration. But here's what starts to happen. The fabric of your society still starts to change. Now, whether or not that change is a positive one or not, well, that is up to the individual to decide. If you like these changes, you're probably sitting in a great spot. If you feel like the UK should have a digital ID, if you feel like freedom of speech should be censored, if you're looking for those changes to happen, then you're rolling right now. You're happy. But me personally, where I'm sitting, I do not think some of these changes need to happen. And it's a very, very slippery slope. I feel like the UK is further along when it comes to their, the way they're degrading freedom of speech. They're a lot further along than Canada. But in Canada, we're a lot further along with the immigration piece. We're catching up with the freedom of speech because they're trying to take away Canadians' freedom of speech. I feel like in the UK, they've pretty much taken it. Because we are developing hate speech laws and we're developing different rules, but they're not quite there yet. In the UK, you guys are there. But here's what I can tell you on the immigration side. It's probably too late for the United Kingdom. And I'm working on a story on this, guys. I haven't really spoken too much on this issue because it's a very intricate issue with a lot of different points involved, a lot of different perspectives involved. This was my first time just sort of laying it all out. I'm actually working on going to India to work on this story about the Indian immigration in Canada. So there's a little spoiler for you guys. But what I will say is this. What the UK is about to see, as a Canadian who's been through it, is a mass shift in the face of their country, in the values of their country, and what exactly that's going to look like. And I don't understand the idea that says that this is good. You know, I think it's a shame that we have to have such incredible countries like the UK and like Canada sort of being a failed social experiment when it comes to some of these socialist or progressive values. You know, some of these values sound great on paper, but whenever they're implemented, they go to shit. So we've seen two different nations now trying to open their borders, trying to say that everybody's always welcome at all times and we're inclusive and we're a sanctuary. And who are the people that are paying for this, my friends? The only people who are paying for it are the citizens of the countries that were born there. The only people paying for it is the everyday person. And I'll take it even further before we play more clips. Not only is it only the native people of that country who are suffering, it's the lower to middle class people who are suffering, not even the rich people. When you have mass immigration come into a country to the point where crime is increasing on the streets, nobody can get a job in like a fast food place or a gas station, because that's what's happening in Canada. Nobody can get a job. Before I moved away, I knew 3 people who couldn't get a job at McDonald's in their mid-20s. This is all since the immigration crisis started in Canada. And again, it's not illegal immigration. This is legal immigration. I know people who cannot get a job at McDonald's or 7-Eleven. But here's the kicker. Those people get screwed and they're told to shut up and stand in line because they don't have any money or influence to do anything. The other people who could be affected are the rich people, the 1% of any country. But here's the funny thing. Those people don't become affected by any of these issues. Those people remain completely unaffected by any of these issues because they are too rich to care. These people who vote for these policies, these people who support this happening, are only doing so because it lines their pockets. They're making more money in their business. They're the owners of 7-Eleven. They're the owners of McDonald's. They're the owners of Tim Hortons, which is not even a Canadian company anymore, if you ask me. But they don't have to go out on the streets at night to walk around because they have a private chauffeur. They don't have to walk around Piccadilly. They don't have to walk around downtown Toronto because they have a chauffeur. They're too rich to be affected by crime. That's the first thing. Second thing is they're rich, so they don't need a job. Okay? So all of us complaining about immigration and what it does to our countries, how it's changing the very fabric of the nation that we once knew. We're the only ones affected by this issue, and the only people who can change it, well, they don't give a shit because they're making more money. We got to remember this too. This immigration, all these things, they're making a lot of people a lot of money. And those people are very comfortable with the way things have started to go. It's easy to fill job positions. These people are paying less and less to these folks than they've ever had to pay. Their companies are getting richer and richer and richer. It's easier to control the citizens. Everything's getting better for the elites, my friends. Everything gets better for them with stuff like this. But what happens to the everyday person? The everyday person in these nations feels like a stranger in their own country. They can't get a job even at a basic place like a convenience store or a McDonald's. They don't feel as safe. And it's not because all immigrants are criminals. It's not because any of that. You know, people who try to paint it with a hateful brush, or they try to paint it with the brush of intolerance. There's a big difference between being intolerant and being realistic. The other thing with me and my perspective is I know many people from these countries who were born and raised in these countries where people are immigrating from, and they have the exact same concerns as anybody else. They have the same concerns. I literally know people from India who have more concerns with the level of Indian immigration in Canada than most Canadians. So there's a lot of issues going on, but here is the point to bring it all the way back around. Here is the initial reason I even brought this up in the first place, to break it down. All of these issues, all they do is make it easier for the people in power to continue getting richer, continue printing more money, and continue to push their agendas of control. That is exactly what these policies do. And that is what we are seeing in the UK. Now, let's take a look at, I don't even want to leak my chat GPT like that. I guess I could leak my chat GPT because I do go to it for answers on the odd time. So I'm going to ask it, what does the UK digital ID look like in 2025? Let's take a look at the level of control that they're going to have. I want to make sure you guys are able to see this as well. I'm going to read the chat here in a second, guys. We're going to have a conversation. So as of 2025, there is no physical digital ID card. Bro, ChatGPT is so stupid. There's no physical digital ID. Well, no shit. It's digital. So here's what the proposed UK digital ID would include and how it works. The digital ID would contain a name, date of birth, nationality or residency status, and a photo for biometric verification. It may also include or allow sharing of additional data such as address, depending on consultations. The digital credential will be stored on your own device, example your smartphone, using strong encryption, multi-factor authentication, and similar protections as banking or payment apps. Even though we all know they could easily hack the shit out of this. I mean, this could easily be infiltrated in a matter of seconds. You would have control over sharing. You would initiate when and what parts of your ID to provide to a third party. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. So I don't have control over the encryption or anything else, but I have control over who accesses this, right? That makes a lot of fucking sense. That makes a lot of sense. If a device is lost or stolen, the credential can be revoked and reissued. The system is intended to be free for individuals, and it will be of equal importance to a passport in the UK. This is insane. This is absolutely insane, man. So this is it. And look, here's really all I can say. I find it hilarious when people are like, hey, man, we got to open up to other people. And hey, man, we got to be tolerant. And hey, man, not everything's a conspiracy. Well, let me tell you something. Not everything is a conspiracy, but more shit is starting to feel like one than not. And we've talked about it before. That's why everybody nowadays is some pseudo conspiracy theorist, because if all of this bullshit, destroying the country, bringing all these people in, if it's not for control, like if this wasn't a means to an end to say we're going to basically turn the country to shit, so it's easier to have control over everybody because everybody has a little bit too much freedom for my liking is basically what the elites were saying. If that's not what they're saying, then what are they trying to do? There has to be a method to the madness. You know, when you're willingly destroying entire countries with bad policy that is universally disapproved of. You know, no serious country is having policies like open borders. No serious country is having policies like internet censorship to the level that we're having it now. So I don't understand what the rationale would be for these countries to do so other than trying to make things so shady that they can come in and try to save the day and try to control it. Again, it sounds like I should wear a tinfoil hat right now. But I'm going to read the chat. Like, if you have the answers, I would like to know the answer. Let's see what the chat's saying. Anarchy says we need a tariff on podcasting equipment. Any dumbass with an opinion grabs a mic. I completely agree with that. Only thing is I'm a genius, so it doesn't apply to me. Ancient says the elite better take some time to think. Like, how far do they think they can push us before we start finding out where they live? That's crazy. Chat is crazy today, dude. What? I need to read these in my head before I read them out loud. We are living in a big society where these controls were once considered totalitarian, brother. Well, I completely agree. They are totalitarian. There's no question about it. As a Native American, we should be allowed to go anywhere. Interesting perspective. Like I say, I see what you guys are saying. I hear what you guys are saying. I'm going to keep reading the chat as we go along through it. But yeah, I mean, look, to open the show, that's really where I stand on it. I think it's, again, if this is not the, intended final outcome, I would be very curious to find out what is. Are we tanking the economy and our government systems and our trust in government because they actually have a better plan coming down the pipe? Like, is there something that I'm missing and that everybody protesting is missing? Because if there is, I'm happy to take a look at it. But at this point, this seems to be all it is. We do have a little bit more news about... I thought we had more news. Hang on a second. That's how you know I'm a real one. I could open my history on camera and there's nothing sketchy. Bro just opened the whole Google Chrome history live and direct. So we'll listen to a little bit more about this ID really quick.
The spray came after a tough week for UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who announced his plans for a compulsory digital ID for all Brits.
And that is why today I am announcing this government will make a new free of charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament.
Or how about this? Maybe you could make legal citizenship or legal anything mandatory to enter the country. What a shocking proposition. It's almost as if you don't let tens of thousands of undocumented people in. Now just stay with me for a second, because I feel like I'm on a breakthrough. It's almost as if you don't let tens of thousands of undocumented people into a country, it might be easier to track who's legal and who's not. It's almost as if that system was put in place to stop this issue in the first place. But I'm using too much logic here. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be talking like this. I shouldn't be talking like this because logic is, I guess, a banned language now. I'm just throwing it out there. It seems to me that if you vet the people coming in like every other country on the fucking planet, you won't have an issue trying to find out who's supposed to be there and who's not. It's almost as if that's why passports were invented. I mean, this is blowing my mind right now. It's almost as if that's why ID was created in the first place. And borders, let me chill. Too much logic. Too much logic.
Today, I am announcing this government will make a new free of charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID.
What a disgrace. Is this guy not ashamed of himself getting up there and saying this? Like, this is the most totalitarian control of government I've ever seen.
It's as simple as that. Because decent, pragmatic, fair-minded people, they want us to tackle the issues that they see around them. And of course, the truth is, we won't solve our problems.
The announcement did
Where's
not
all my UK people at? I saw a couple people saying they're from the UK. I see one, as someone in the UK, it's crazy, it's by design. Tell me what you guys think of it, man. Like, what do you guys think of all this stuff? Am I overreacting? Or is it as bad as I think it is in the UK? Like I told you, my home country is Canada. So we're just as screwed in my home country. I don't live there anymore. But we're just as screwed there as you guys are in the UK.
Want us to tackle the issues that they see around them. And of course, the truth is, we won't solve our problems.
The announcement did not go down well with many in the UK, particularly Reform UK leader Nigel Farage, who slammed his opponent.
So the Prime Minister says we must have digital ID. That's the way we'll stop illegal immigration. Well, think about it. Germany has ID cards, strict ID and checks. It's made no difference.
Yeah, Germany had ID cards in the past as well, if I remember correctly. Really, really good look.
And of course, the truth is,
great look for the UK.
We won't solve our problems.
The announcement did not go down well with many in the UK, particularly Reform UK leader Nigel Farage, who slammed his opponent.
So the Prime Minister says we must have digital ID. That's the way we'll stop illegal immigration. Well, think about it. Germany has ID cards, strict ID and checks. It's made no difference at all in Germany, and nor will it here. All that digital ID will be is a means of controlling the population, of telling us what we can and can't do, of fining the innocent. And didn't we see it all when we had the pandemic, when you had to have vaccine ID to travel, to do various things? Did that stop the COVID pandemic spreading? Did it? Hell, all it did was put cost and inconvenience on everybody else. I also worry about massive data banks being held by the government, being hacked by foreign governments, by private companies, by criminals. I do not see a single benefit to the government having digital ID other than them controlling what we do, what we spend, and where we go. And we in Reform are wholly opposed to it in every single way.
Well, I don't really know much about this guy, Farage, but I do know that what he just said makes a lot of sense. We're going to play the rest of the clip, but I have two quick things to say. Number one, there's a good amount of people from the UK watching this right now. And if you're in the UK watching this, your Canadian brother here, whose country has been controlled by censorship, been controlled by out-of-control immigration, lunatic policies, and all the rest of it. I just want to tell you guys, man, friend to friend, ally to ally, keep on fighting, okay? I have been fighting the totalitarian government in Canada for a number of years before I moved away. And when they implemented vaccine passports, I stayed in my house until they were taken away. I was told I would never travel again because I didn't have the vaccine. I'm not anti-vax, but I didn't get the vaccine. I'm not anti-vax because I think people should get what they want. So I'm not anti-vaccine in any sense of the word. I was anti-getting it myself. And when my country implemented the vaccine passport, I was told I would never travel again. So guess what? I said, okay, I'm never going to travel again. I was told I'd never eat at a restaurant again. So I said, okay, I better get comfortable and start cooking at home. I don't give a damn what it takes for my UK brothers and sisters to avoid this totalitarianism. I don't care if you have to fucking live off garage sales, if you have to start going on Fiverr.com and making money in different countries remotely. Whatever you have to do, stand up to this digital ID. If they tell you that you can't work in the UK ever again, don't. Go work somewhere else. Get on the computer and find a job out of China or Canada or Russia or USA and go work for them. Do not fold, my friends. Because if you don't fold, they will roll it back. But it will take time. I don't even want to say my other point. That's the only point I want to say. It makes me sick. Do not fold, do not bend, do not break, my friends, because they're going to fucking bankrupt themselves as a country. I bet you any money this is going to have the biggest blowback. This is going to blow up in their face so hard. It is insane.
An outspoken commentator, Douglas Murray, agreed, saying Starmer is inept.
Well, this is a reheated policy from the Blair era. And it's another reminder that Starmer doesn't have any real policies of his own. But presumably Tony Blair or somebody from Blair's circle has said, why not give this another go? It was fantastically unpopular 20 years ago, but perhaps people will be with it now. I'm not one of those libertarians who objects to the idea of ID because I think that government's going to come and snoop and all that sort of thing. I object to it, particularly rolled out on these grounds, because you don't need digital ID to prove your right or otherwise to be in the UK, and it does absolutely nothing that I can see serious to crack down on illegal.
I'll tell you, my blood pressure is rising as we listen to this. My blood pressure is rising. Tell me why the people who are supposed to be in the country, why are they the ones being penalized? If they're allowing mass illegal immigration, why are we penalizing the people who are supposed to be in the country? Making it harder for them to get a job, making it harder for them to survive. When, as people are saying in the chat, they can barely get by anyway. People can barely even work, period. People can't get a job. I mean, this is a disgrace. It makes me very fucking angry. You're going to penalize the people who are supposed to be there. And I had the same thing happen to me, guys. I had to get my here's a little story for you guys. I had to get my passport replaced after having it damaged. I'm a Canadian citizen born and raised. I went back to Canada to get my new passport. I was put under investigation by Passport Canada, a Canadian citizen, because it was deemed suspicious that I needed a new passport. Yet we have tens of thousands of people entering our country illegally, creating fake schools, fake licenses, fake student visas. Those people can come right in. All you people who are making fake schools, fake certificates, fake places of business, you can all come right in on your fake visas, fake paperwork, not Canadian, not born here, not supposed to be here. But a guy who's born and raised in the country, who's fleeing to get out because it's ran by lunatics, well, I have to be investigated. Canadians should be investigated first. So this is why it makes me so angry. And I didn't want to get angry tonight. I didn't. But it's because I understand it. I understand exactly what you guys are going through.
We don't want a social credit system. We're not interested in you pledging allegiances to Davos over your own country. You are an evil, authoritarian man, and we are not interested in any way in your regime, your authoritarian, top-down, 1% nonsense. We're not having a digital ID. We're not having a brick card. We're not having mass surveillance. We're not having inheritance tax. We're not interested. We're the people, and we hold the power, and we're fighting back, and we're going to win.
But it seems even Starmer himself is struggling to sell the ID, serving up this Kamala Harris-style word salad on television when asked how it will actually help to stop illegal immigration.
One of our viewers got in touch and wanted us to ask this question. Russ Brown wanted us to ask you if you really believe that those profiting from human trafficking...
I love the chat. So here's what the chat does. They'll go, you don't live in your own country, so your entire argument collapses. They'll say, you're an immigrant. Yes, certainly I am an immigrant, but guess what? The countries I immigrate to, because I live in many countries, the countries that I immigrate to have very strict restrictions on immigration so that the best and brightest immigrants are the only ones who get in. The other thing is, too, I would never overstay a visa. But more than that, my friend, I would never go to a country and think, well, this is my shit now. And here's the reason why the immigration is failing coming this way instead of going out. If I immigrate to Shanghai, I don't think I'm a Shanghai citizen. I don't think I'm Chinese. nor do I think I have the right to be there. When I immigrate to somewhere or I go into somewhere, I do it legally. There's this insane concept called legal immigration. I know it's shocking to a lot of people here. It's a very foreign concept in 2025, but if you fill out the right paperwork and go into a country and follow the rules, you're actually allowed to be a guest there. It's a shocking concept. I know that we're supposed to just have open borders and everybody gets in and, hey man, give our land back, none of it's yours anyway. I get it, I get all that. We're supposed to have no rules and everything's supposed to be a free-for-all. But there is this incredible concept that if you follow the rules and you're a productive guest in the country that you're in, not trying to control the country, not trying to change the rules in the country, but you're a guest, it can actually work out quite well. And that is why the countries that I've immigrated to, well, they have strict policies to avoid what's happening in the UK. It's very simple, my friends. Nothing wrong with immigration. Nothing wrong with immigration. Nothing wrong with moving to a new country. But you are a guest. If I move to Thailand, I am not a Thai person. It doesn't matter what my certificate says. I'm not Thai. I'm never going to be Thai. It's a big group and I'm not in it, okay? That is what I think needs to be understood loud and clear. So here's really the whole situation. For anybody who's just tuning in, we're talking about the UK digital ID situation. So basically everybody in the UK to work, period, is now going to be required to have a digital ID. This is announced to be in response to the illegal immigration problem. Since there's so many illegal immigrants in the United Kingdom at this point, that now they actually need a digital ID for their own citizens to even verify who's supposed to be in the country and who's not. Again, this kind of sounds backwards to me. It kind of sounds like you're making a mess and then trying to clean it up later instead of just not making the mess. But like I say, I'm curious to hear what everybody in the chat has to say. I'm very curious to hear, what you guys' perspectives are on this situation. We're going to continue reading some other stuff here unless there's more comments about the digital ID. I'll get a lot of blowback from my comments. Look, I've been saying some real comments on this stream lately, but I'm not going to fold. I'm not going to back down. And in my country, it's hard in Canada because you become like a social pariah for speaking the truth. It's not like the UK in the sense that you'll be arrested. But Canada almost operates on more of a social currency than other nations. So if you speak on these issues in Canada, and again, I've said it 10,000 times in this stream, at risk of repeating myself, I no longer live there because I don't agree with the way it's going. But if I was to stay in Canada and really talk about these issues a lot, I would be basically blacklisted from society. There's not formal regulations against what you're able to say in Canada. But if you do choose to say certain things and speak the truth on certain issues that are not comfortable, everybody basically just goes quiet and they withhold opportunities from you. So as a Canadian, they're not going to tell you, I don't like what you said, so I don't want to work with you. They will just blackball you. So they're not going to give you opportunities. They're not going to let you at their events. People won't even want to talk to you. They're not going to say, fuck you. They're not going to say, I was so offended. They're just going to go quiet because they're sheep. These people are sheep. So they want to follow the herd wherever the herd is going to go. That's why I was becoming somewhat of a pariah living in Canada, because I'm talking about all these issues on the world, to the world. I'm not going to say the world stage, but to the world. And that's not the way that the country operates. So it becomes a challenging scenario. But like I say, man, for anybody out there, just keep hanging on, man. Don't give in. Fight back. Fight back. We're going to look at a couple other things here. Let's take a look at this. So there was There was some sort of podcast ranking for the top podcasts of 2025. Yeah, the Golden Globe Awards. So it says Golden Globe Awards unveils the top 25 list of podcasts eligible for the inaugural audio award. So 25 podcasts are going to compete. And this is interesting. The Best Podcast Award going at the Golden Globes. It's crazy for me, by the way, because I started podcasting back in 2008. So the idea that podcasting is not only at the level that it's at now, but the fact that it would be considered for the Golden Globes, I mean, to me is quite a head trip. I remember listening to Corolla and Rogan and Mark Maron when nobody knew who they were. This is my old man back in my day story. But I was listening to these shows before anybody knew it. It's crazy to see where it's at now. So it says the field will be narrowed down to 6 nominees that will be unveiled along the rest of this year's Golden Globe nominees on the 8th. And here's the full list of podcasts eligible for the award. So I'm not going to read them all, but we got 2020. Call Her Daddy. Shout out Call Her Daddy, by the way. Like, look, as a podcaster myself, I got a lot of love for that chick, Alex Cooper, because she's like the female Joe Rogan. You know, it's like every dude who I know who's into new media is into Joe Rogan and has like they have like a god complex around Rogan. He's like their little god. And every bad, attractive woman I know who's into new media, she likes Call Her Daddy. She likes Alex Cooper. I've dated girls who love Alex Cooper. So as a dude who's not going to sit and listen to that, I also have to give her credit as a podcaster myself, as a guy in media myself, because I can respect what she does and the hold that she has on culture. I got mad love for that. Candace, is that Candace Owens on there? Very surprising. Candace Owens up for the Golden Globe. Got a lot of love for Candace Owens as well. Is she right about everything? Definitely not. Do I agree with everything she says? Definitely not. But she's great at what she does. Mr. Ballin's on here. I don't even know half of these podcasts. Isn't that crazy? I don't even know half these podcasts. I'm supposed to be the podcast guy. Ben Shapiro's on here. Bill Simmons. Joe Rogan. Tucker. Tucker deserves to be on this list. And Theo Vaughn. 2 very good picks. So it sounds like some people who actually know what they're talking about put this list together. So it's pretty cool. I would say if I had to name my 5 favorite podcasts that should win an award, it would probably be, I'd say Candace should get one for this year because she's been killing shit. With the Macron series and all this stuff, she's been killing shit with the podcast. Tucker should get one because Tucker Carlson is a bad motherfucker now that he left Fox. Rogan should get it because he's the GOAT. Theo should get one. And Alex Cooper should get one. That's my top 5 for the Golden Globe picks. So congrats to everybody on the Golden Globes. We'll see what happens with that. So we're going to move on now to a different topic. So I mentioned the censorship in Canada. I wanted to delve into this topic just a little bit to really illustrate how bad of a problem this is here in Canada. So in the past couple of years in Canada, we've had a series of bills. And these bills are directly crafted to erode freedom of speech and freedom of expression in this country. The latest bill is called Bill C-8. And this bill is, we're going to play the clip, but is set to, quote, effectively end people's lives on demand if you say the wrong thing. So if certain keywords or certain phrases come up in Canada, the government will actually be able to cut your internet and telephone access immediately if they deem what you say to be offensive or hateful, I guess is their definition. Let's take a listen to this clip. Absolutely shocking news coming out of Canada.
Now on to the present bill. I am concerned, as I say, by the following sections. 15.1 and 15.2 give the minister the unprecedented, incredible power to kick any private Canadian citizen off the internet, to cut off their phone line, to turn off their cell phone. That is the plain language summary, but I will quote now the bill in its legalese. If there is reasonable grounds to believe that it is necessary to do so to secure the Canadian telecommunication system against any threat, the minister may prohibit a telecommunication service provider from providing any service to the specified person.
Wow.
Now, perhaps this might make sense to do in an extreme circumstance, if a person is trying to cause our satellites to crash or to jam military radar. But this section does not use language about extreme threats of physical damage or threats to national security. It says any threat. And as far as I can tell, given the Liberals' incautious and bombastic use of terms like misinformation, that being any information they don't like, or existential threat, for instance, the member from Milton called the leader of my party an existential threat to our democracy, which is, of course, bananas. So given their incautious and bombastic use of these phrases, it seems to me that the industry minister could deem any speech she doesn't like any threat, and then kick that person off the internet.
I mean, guys, you can't make this stuff up. You really cannot make this stuff up. Absolutely shocking. And again, this isn't the first time we've had situations like this, by the way. For anybody who's not familiar with Canada, you know, I sort of take it upon myself to educate people. I don't want to say educate because it sounds patronizing. I want to take it upon myself to enlighten people about what's actually happening in my home country, because I'm disgusted by what we've seen occur, especially during the pandemic. We not only had people censored and arrested for protesting, we actually had people's bank accounts frozen. So there was the Freedom Convoy, which was a large protest of truckers who were protesting the COVID-19 mandates in the vaccines. A lot of people went out into Ottawa to have their voices heard. Long protest, over a week of protesting. Many of these people were arrested, but many of these people also who weren't even arrested had their bank accounts frozen by the Canadian government, deeming them involved in terroristic activity for protesting the mandates the government was passing on their own land. Bank accounts frozen for protesting. So now not only can the Canadian government come in and arrest you and freeze your bank account if they decide they don't agree with you, they can actually cut your internet and telephone service. I mean, this, again, it's hard to make something like this up.
This section reaches Chinese Communist Party levels of government overreach, and they should be ashamed of themselves. The bill gets worse, it does not get better, Mr. Speaker. 15.2, Clause 5, gives the minister the ability to make her decision to kick someone off the internet. Secret. So imagine that. You've annoyed the Liberal Party overlords, and they've decided to kick you off the internet and cut your phone line. You can't tell anyone that you've been cut off. I have no idea how this could even possibly be enforced, but imagine being put effectively in a digital gulag, unable to use the phone or the internet or your online banking, and if you tell anyone that this happened, you could go to physical jail. I do not doubt that the Liberals will stand and say that I'm being somehow outlandish in my interpretation of this. I am not. It is there in black and white. Let me quote it for them. It seems like they haven't read it. 15.2, Clause 5. An order made under subsection 1 or 2 may include a provision prohibiting the disclosure of its existence or some or all of its content by any person. And if you aren't inclined to believe me, please just Google it.
It's insane, guys. It's insane. And I think that the most evident thing that's happening right now is that our freedom of speech is under attack. We as a people are under attack. That's really the only conclusion I'm able to come to. So again, this is my plan, my game plan, which I've already started to implement in this past year, is as follows. Step 1, pack everything now. Step 2, find a location that is corrupt, but has corruption to the level that you're willing to tolerate. So I'm not going to say find a place that's not corrupt to go live, because quite frankly, that's not possible. Every country is corrupt because every country has government. So there's going to be issues in every country. There's going to be corruption in every country. There's going to be bad things that happen. Find the level of corruption that you're willing to tolerate. And then step 3 would be leave. Because I truly don't believe that if you decide past this point of where we're at today to stay in a country like the UK or like Canada, because we're already past the point where you should have left. That's kind of the reality here. We're already past the window of getting out unscathed. But at this point now, we're under direct attack. So if you're choosing to stay at this point, it's going to be hard to complain about the outcome when it really starts to happen even more. You know, there's room to complain now, and there's room to say, okay, I don't like the way this is going now. But at a certain point, the tipping point, we're past that. So now we've tipped into a whole nother level. So really what I would say is your only option if you're a citizen of one of these countries is going to be to get your family, get your belongings, and leave for a little while. I don't think you're going to have to leave forever. But I think the people who are going to stick around for this next 5-10 years in Canada and in the UK especially, and even in America, America's in a lot of trouble right now. This part of the world is in a lot of trouble. Parts of Europe are in a lot of trouble. If you choose to stay, you're going to have to be willing to accept whatever happens. You know, this is direct attack. This is direct attack. This is full-on tyranny. And, you know, I laugh when people say, oh, Cassius, you're ridiculous. The government isn't tyrannical. The government isn't tyrannical. The government isn't authoritarian because they don't say that they are. I'm like, do you guys think that a government comes out and puts out a billboard on the day they decide to become authoritarian? Do you think there's a press release or an announcement? Well, we've decided today in the government of Canada that we're going to become authoritarian today. And we're going to admit it and we're open about it. Do you really think that's what's going to happen? Or do you think that they're just going to become authoritarian and that's just going to be what it is? You know, these modern nations, these Western nations, I should say, they pretty much just have great publicists because they're advertised as democracies, but they have less freedom than the countries that are supposed to be authoritarian. You know, the countries that I've been living in, I've lived in Vietnam, I've lived in Thailand. These are countries that are supposed to be communist and or authoritarian, yet I can say whatever the fuck I want out there. How are we in a point now in 2025 where authoritarian countries under dictatorship, you feel more free there than you feel in a country that has a democracy? It's absolutely rich. If Canada and America and the UK have a democracy, then so does Kim Jong-un. I mean, it's the most shocking, but I think it's about having a good publicist. You know, Canada especially has a very good publicist. Most people around the world still think we're just nice idiots. You know, we're just nice, goofy people who live in the snow and don't really have many problems. Let me tell you something about the Canadian government, my friends. They're not nice people. They're not nice people. They're very nasty people. So it's a nightmare. But that's really what you have to do at this point in time. If you are not okay with the way this is going, you got to get out because it's gone this way. It's not, I don't even want to say the way this is going. We've gone this way. We're there. So that's my advice for everybody. I'm going to hop into another topic here, guys. Again, if you missed the beginning, we're talking about digital IDs. We're talking about Bill C-8, as it says here on the screen. I don't even know why I didn't read this. It's sitting on the screen. Bill C-8 allows the Canadian government, without trial or a warrant, to issue an order banning internet providers from providing any service to any specified person, prohibiting the disclosure of the order's existence. So that's the other thing. If this happens to you, you're not allowed to tell people about it, or else you'll get in more trouble. And Bill C-8 also gives them the opportunity to force you to give them personal information that they think is relevant. See, this is the treatment that Andrew Tate used to get. This is this is like the treatment that like an influencer would get if they were canceled. Because I remember Tate was banned off Uber. He was banned off everything. Now we're in a position where an everyday citizen can actually have this sort of treatment. Again, guys, if you are in the way of this, get out. And I'll tell you guys, since I got out, I have never been happier since I left Canada. I really, truly haven't. I am literally scared, terrified by the state of the country. I'm terrified of the people who are in charge. And I'm even more scared of the fact that people around think it's okay somehow, or that somehow we're headed to a good place, or that somehow everything's going to be fine. It's sort of hard to wrap my mind around that. And I'm sure my people in the UK could probably agree, like wrapping my mind around the fact that people see what's happening, they can register it, and they're like, well, this is fine. I'm just going to go to work, and what's for dinner tonight? And is the game on channel 2 or channel 12 tonight? It's like, wake the fuck up, dude. Wake up. Your liberties are being stolen. Your rights are being stolen. Your quality of life is being degraded to the point where people are living like peasants. You know, the average middle class person in the UK, lower middle class, is living like a poor person 10 years ago. The average, lower middle class person in Canada is living like a fucking peasant. They don't go out to eat. They don't go to the movies. They don't go to the bar because they can't afford to. Can't afford to do anything. And on top of that, you're going to degrade the social and moral fiber of the society to the point where it's not even inhabitable anymore. These countries are going to shit. So that would ultimately be my advice, guys. I know it's hard. I know it's not easy to pick up and leave, but it's the best thing I ever did. It's the best thing I ever did. We're going to hop into one more story before we wrap up here. Kiss icon Gene Simmons making headlines for all the wrong reasons today after he evidently was hospitalized in Malibu after a car crash. We have this story here coming in from People magazine, so we're going to go ahead and skim through it. So Gene Simmons was reportedly hospitalized after a car crash in Malibu yesterday on October 7th. His wife Shannon told NBC4 Los Angeles that he is recovering at home. And a sheriff's station spokesperson confirmed to People that an accident that matched the description of Simmons' crash was reported. So here's what allegedly happened with Gene. So he's recovering at home, as we mentioned, after allegedly passing out behind the wheel of his car and crashing on the Pacific Coast Highway, according to NBC4. They reported that Gene told responding deputies that he either passed out or fainted while driving along the famed Oceanside stretch of highway and hit a parked car. The quote here from a representative says, "Gene is fine and back to work already." A spokesperson for the Lost Hills Sheriff's Station confirmed to People magazine. Of course, an incident that matches that description happened. They keep repeating the same details in this story. The spokesperson said the accident happened in the 2500 block of Pacific Coast Highway just before 1 p.m. and involved a vehicle that struck a parked vehicle. The driver was transported to the hospital by LA County, that would be Gene, for further treatment. Now, this is actually a pretty serious accident when you think about it. I mean, a guy passing out while he's behind the wheel, that's very serious. We also got a tip on Facebook that Gene actually passed out at an airport recently as well. This was within the past year. Again, this is an unsubstantiated tip that I did receive from Facebook, but there were a couple people that had mentioned that and said that they're speculating he may have some kind of condition which may have landed him passing out multiple times. The source says that the SUV careened across several lanes of traffic before hitting a parked car. And Shannon Tweed, Gene's wife, is saying that he is at home recovering and noted that doctors had recently changed his medication. So that's a pretty big tip there as well. There is medication in the mix. So Gene is obviously going through something. Obviously a tough week as well for rock and roll fans, as Ace Frehley had to cancel his tour, all of his remaining dates for 2025, and actually just say, look, I'm not going to go out on the road. I'm not well enough. Sad situation all around. You know, first of all, I'm wishing nothing but good health for Gene and for Ace. I'm sending nothing but good vibes. Two friends of the show, two guys who I've interviewed on this channel, two great people who I have a lot of respect for. And even if I didn't have a lot of respect for them, I would still send them a lot of love. So sending big love to Gene and Ace. And it's a sad thing, man. Look, it's a sad thing. As much as we want to believe they're immortal gods from the celestial universe, and, you know, they are only among the mere mortal men. Try saying that 10 times fast. And there's some sort of gods. Well, that's sadly not the truth. You know, we can view them as superheroes, but everybody is mortal after all. So I think that this is sort of just a sad wake-up call as to the real state of things. And look, these guys aren't getting any younger. Life is unfortunately a scenario where these things just keep happening more and more. They're not going to happen less as time goes on. That being said, I do have to applaud them both. You know, they're both out there still on the road. They're both out there still going, to tour dates and doing different projects and doing different recordings. These guys still have the ambition to go out and work and create after being rich for decades. You know, Ace Frehley is a little different. He's gone up and down over the years. He's not as rich as Gene. So he probably has more motivation to go out there and work. Gene, on the other hand, we're talking about a guy who's worth upwards of $300 million, probably closer to $5 billion, and just sold the rights to $1 billion organization, KISS. This is not a guy who needs to do anything. He could be kicking back on a beach relaxing. So at the end of the day, I feel like it's pretty admirable that they're even trying to work, that they're even out there still active. So tip of the hat to Gene for that, sending him nothing but good vibes for good health. And I'm hoping that we can see a new report coming soon that these guys are okay. Ace is back on the road. He's back in the studio. And Ace, if you want to come back on the show to do an interview for Origins Volume 4, I believe it is. I better get it right before he comes back on. If you want to do another interview, I would be happy to have you on. I would love to do so. Before we wrap up, we do have a clip. I feel like I'm kind of all over the place today. I had different things I wanted to play for these ID topics and stuff, and I didn't play them all at once. I guess we could do one more comment about the digital ID. Let's play one more comment from Jordan Peterson, because the stream tomorrow is about Jordan Peterson.
If you have digitally verified ID, then you run into the problems of digitally verified ID, and they're running down that road in China now. So in China, for example, God, this is going to happen here, I think, too. Although maybe people will fight it.
He's Canadian, by the way. Jordan Peterson was born in the same town I was born in. So we're two refugees. We're two Canadian refugees who escaped the cold and went to find a better life.
Although maybe people will fight it. If a traffic camera catches you jaywalking in China, okay, so the digital ID system has you. It has your blood now. It has your genetic code. It has your photograph. It can identify how you walk. So even if you can't see a face, you can be picked up by gait. It will convict you of jaywalking and take money out of your bank account with no intermediating judiciary at all, and show a picture of you to the people in the neighborhood so they know that you have jaywalked, and reduce your social credit score. And if your social credit score falls below a certain level, then you can't buy drinks from a vending machine. You can't play video games. You can't go on a train. You can't get out of your 15-minute city. All that's already in place in China.
Do you think that would be helpful or unhelpful?
It would be.
What the fuck is Theo talking about, dude? What are you talking about, bro? with a straight face. See, I like Theo, but that is a stupid question.
Place in China.
Do you think that that would be helpful or unhelpful?
Oh, it would be.
Oh, very helpful. To collapse the society, that is.
I think it would bring in, and it has already in China, I think it'll bring in a totalitarian tyranny so 100% complete that it would make George Orwell's 1984 look like a picnic.
It's insane, guys. So again, we're going to keep covering this. We're going to keep covering the digital IDs. We're going to keep covering all these different stories. We have one more clip here to wrap up with. So this is Rogan. This is Rogan who got freaked out. I guess have we seen this? I feel like I saw part of this. The mentalist who guessed Rogan's PIN code. I thought this would be a fun one to end with. He really freaked out Rogan.
How long you been married?
16 years.
Okay, nailed that question. Well played.
Thank you.
You got your sister's happy, your wife's happy. If I asked you, would your wife know your social security number?
No.
She doesn't know it.
No.
So is there any way in the world I could know your social security number?
I don't think so.
Right, you say I'm a stalker. Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, you could have got the information.
Maybe.
Online.
So this is a mentalist.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I'm skeptical. You're skeptical.
Well, especially someone famous.
Yeah. Fully. Plus, you can't change that, so I'm not going to do that to you.
Data dumps. Yeah.
You know, if I told you right now to make up a random number, I'd say, get out your calculator. I'd love that. And you add it up and you do a random number. You know, screw calculator. I want it to be spontaneous. Would your wife know your ATM PIN code? No?
No.
Lie to me. Do not tell me your real ATM PIN code.
Okay.
Obviously, unless you want to. Make up a fake 4-digit number off the top of your head. What feels to you utterly spontaneous.
Okay.
When I say go, 1, 2, 3, 4-digit code, random, go.
Okay.
Say it.
2020.
2020. Okay. So you ask me, how do I do what I do? Now, I'm going to write down 2020.
Okay.
It's weird, but statistically, men will lie bigger, women smaller. Men like to lie by saying things are bigger, right? No shocker.
Okay.
So I don't think I would tell you right off the jump for me that means that your first number, you don't have to say anything yet, I wrote 2020, is smaller. That's what most people do when they're rushed. If I had given you 5 minutes, you would have done this different.
No, I wouldn't have.
No, you would have.
Why would I have?
Because you would have thought about it, and then
No.
people go down a different path.
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Okay, worked out for me either way. You'll be honest if I'm right.
Okay.
I got a hit, which means it's a 0 or 1. I think the first number of your code's a 1, isn't it? Your real PIN code.
Bro, look at his face. Rogan was so prepared for this guy to bomb at this bit. He's like, what do you mean? How could you know my PIN code?
ATM PIN code? Why would I tell you that on the air?
Should I only show this to you?
Sure.
Only show it to you?
Yeah.
Can we acquiesce that the first number I got was correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you did repetition. So yeah, I like the fact when people always say to me it's fake when they watch the videos. They're like, you must have set up. Joe doesn't even want this to happen right now. He had no idea this was going to happen. You used 2 numbers in repeats. What that means is you probably did the same thing. You also didn't use any of the same numbers. So I know there's not a 2, a 0, or a 2 in it. I don't think so either.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm watching you while I say it. You put the hand up. You might as well have said yes to me out loud. So now I know. Think of the second number,
Okay.
third number, fourth number.
Got
Every
it.
time you did it, it's a data point.
Okay.
I'm only going to ask you one more question. I'm not looking for answers. The last number is the biggest, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm showing this to you.
This guy's
Is
crazy.
there a camera behind me? I don't want to make sure. I'm
No.
only going to show it to you. It's not 2020. How'd I do, Joe? Is that your ATM PIN code?
Yeah.
Oh,
weird.
shit, I love that.
I'm skeptical because I've got that PIN code in the mail. You know?
He's calling his bank right now and being like, yo, do you know this? Has this guy been playing the long game?
Yeah, I don't like that.
You know he definitely changed his PIN code after that. So much entertainment we've gotten from this show. So that's it, guys. That's the end of the stream today. I feel like some of the streams are really long. We'll do 2-3 hours. Some of them will do just an hour and just really zero in on the topic of what we're supposed to talk about. It seems like most of the chat was on the same page. It seems like we all agree that the totalitarianism is coming. The censorship is coming. The war on the people is here. And it's a very sad thing. Very sad thing. But at the same time, we're going to fight it, my friends. We're going to fight it. And this can be your number one source of information to help fight this. We're not going to lay down. We're not going to stop covering it. We're not going to pick safer topics. This is going to be the channel where it all comes out and we talk about it together. So make sure to subscribe. Make sure to show some love. Make sure to tap back in for the next stream. And I really appreciate you guys checking in with me. Got a lot of work to do these next couple of days. A lot of work to do. Hopping on a couple of flights, working on a couple of stories, working on some different videos for this channel. A lot of fun stuff coming down the pipe. You know, it's my job to know what you guys are going to want to see before you see it, before you guys even know that you want to see it. And let me tell you, that's exactly what I'm doing right now when I'm putting together these future videos. We got the formula. We cracked the code, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the final frontier for greatness as we evolve. So I love you guys very much. Thank you for checking in today. And if you're watching the recording, let me know what you think down below in the comments about digital IDs. Like I say, we're going to keep covering this story. We're going to keep covering the mass immigration. We're going to keep covering the tyranny. We're going to keep covering the censorship. Every day on the channel, we'll have a new update. So make sure